Once again, we're jumping in here. This is the shot we currently have. You can see there's only some basic mouth motion. And just to compare from what we saw last stream, this is the slightly more polished version. The version we had at the end of the last stream was this one here. So this was mostly the eyes and the brows. And the main changes that I did here, just so everyone can be caught up, is I adjusted some of the eyebrow motions. So for example, as they go down, I didn't go down nearly as far. I felt like I was crushing those brows too much and I was starting to get into kind of a more angry expression, which I didn't like. So I brought those up, reduced the range of motion. The other reason I did this is later on we go really high right here and then lower here. And what I felt in this first version, let me just play it here, is that it feels like the brows are very bouncy. They go up and down, up and down. So by reducing that first down motion, what we end up getting is just a small, you can almost make an anticipation to the big brow motion before it comes crashing down. So we just get this more interesting motion versus just up, down the whole way through, which gets boring and repetitive. The other thing I did is I changed the expression at the end. I felt like his eyes were starting to get a little too tired and like squinty right here. So I just pushed the eyelids a little bit more open. And this is something that you will notice when you work, is when you're working on a shot, you're going to think of an expression, you'll look at, get my words out right. You're going to be animating an expression, you're going to be looking at it and it's like, oh man, that looks great. And what ended up happening is I took a break, I walked away, I came back to my computer and I sat down, and literally the first thought that popped in my mind was, wow, he looks half asleep. And I changed it. I didn't see it before because I was so caught up in all the other details, but by taking that little bit of a break, you come back and you're going to notice things that aren't working correctly. So don't be afraid to take breaks when you're animating. On stream, I can't really do that as easily, but just being able to walk away for 5-10 minutes and come back, you're going to be amazed how much that actually tends to help, especially if you get into the habit of just crunching down in your work and working for like 8 or 10 hour stretches without a break just to try and get things done. Technically, you're going to get a lot done, but you're not going to be getting the quality that you want. Taking breaks helps to ensure that your quality stays higher. Even though technically you're getting less done because you're taking more breaks, you're going to be healthier overall, and you're going to usually end up with a better product in the end too. And we can see that here. Like this was, the change in expression here was literally a 5 or 10 minute break. So you mean breaks 10 minutes or for the rest of the day? Breaks for 10 minutes. So you get up, stretch your legs, walk around for 10 minutes, grab some water, maybe a little snack. And 10 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, half an hour, even an hour. It depends on what you're doing, how long you've been working. But that little bit of a break, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes of walking away from your computer and coming back, is going to be hugely helpful. So that's where we are now on this shot. At this point, I'm going to block in the dialogue. But before we do that, Gaming Car, thank you again so much for the gift. Oh man, geez, thank you so much. So before we jump into dialogue, we'll need to plan out the lip sync. Now, do you have to plan out the lip sync? No, not really. And honestly, I will say that I plan out kind of 50% of the time. Sometimes I kind of have a clear idea, oh, I know what I want the lip sync to do, and I'll just animate it. Other times I want to prepare and kind of think of how can I simplify the lip sync and make it clear for the audience what's happening and avoid chattery mouth motions. So we're going to do that in just a second here. But before that, let me just answer this question here. So Sal, you just asked, will AI replace animators? No. AI will not replace animators. AI will change the way we as animators work. Ideally, it'll make our lives simpler and easier. It'll make it so that we don't have to do as much of the menial tasks. So menial task is, let's say you have to animate a walk cycle, character walking in the background. you could spend a whole day animating that, or you could use an AI program to basically get you a walk cycle put in there, and then, hey, there you go. You're good. And then you can work and add on top of that. So it'll allow you to add more of the artistic elements versus the menial tasks that are just kind of body mechanics, basic body mechanics. Just like motion capture. That's what motion capture is. It didn't replace animators. It gave us another tool. That's what the graph editor does. That's what Maya does. It's giving us a different tool. AI is going to be a tool for that. The problem is how the studios, the corporations will see it and how they will try to use it. And most likely they will try to save money, essentially. So it's definitely going to affect us as animators, but it's hard to say how much. Ideally, it'll just give us more tools to allow us to get to the artistic, fun stuff in animation. And what do I think about AI art? AI art is cool and awesome. The way it is being run right now is, at least to me, should be, I wouldn't say illegal, but it is immoral and it is not correct. Because essentially it is stealing people's art and using it to just throw out results that is just going to hinder and hurt the industry, hurt artists, and it's not benefiting anything right now, not the way it is currently. As a tool, once again, for artists to help them develop certain things, to help them get basic gaming card again. Jeez, thank you so much. So many subs. Thank you so much. So as a tool, it can be great. The way it is being run now, I'm not a fan of it, simply because it is literally stealing people's art, using it, making a profit out of people's art without their permission and without their consent. And then essentially it is removing them from the equation. So an example that can be used here is baking. So we're going to use the baking industry to use as an analogy. If you think of making a loaf of bread, let's say I was a baker. So I used to be a baker before I was an animator. I would make bread and I would have to do the whole process myself. So you'd get the flour, you'd get the butter, you'd get the salt, you'd get the yeast, all of that, mix it in a mixer, put in a pan, let it proof, all of this stuff, and bake it in the oven. Poof, you've got a loaf of bread. Yay. So I did that whole process myself. And I would have to buy the flour, I'd have to buy the yeast, I'd have to buy all the ingredients. Great. Now, we'll bring in some technology, a bread maker, a simple bread maker. Suddenly, you have a machine that you can add in the bread, you can add in the yeast, all of this stuff, and in the end, you get a loaf of bread. Poof. I didn't have to mix everything together, but I still had to buy all the ingredients. I still had to buy the flour, I had to buy the yeast, all of that stuff. Now, we get an advanced AI bread making machine. It can replace me, and it takes me out of the equation, and now it's putting in all the ingredients to the bread machine and bakes a loaf of bread, all good. So technically me as the baker I have been removed from the equation, but the machine still has to get the flour and the yeast and everything else. So even though I was replaced, the entire process is still there. And as a baker, I can now focus on some of the things that the bread maker can't do. So for example, making pastries, making cookies, making cakes, decorating cakes. It might have stolen my one job, but as an artist, I can now change what I do to focus on different things. Or maybe I do different artisan type breads, so specialized breads that take more time than a machine wouldn't be able to do. So it's stolen my job, but it allows me to maybe focus on different things, and it hasn't hurt the pipeline before it. Now, AI art, what it does is it takes what has already been created, puts it into a machine, and then pumps out a result. Okay, cool. But as an artist, you are buying art books. You are buying all of this material. You are reading tutorials. You are going to art schools. You are buying pencils and papers and all of this stuff. So you've got this whole industry that is working together. And the troll, thank you so much for the sub. So you've got this whole industry, and this doesn't even include like mentors and teachers and all of this hundreds of years, thousands of years of improving art, of making art better and better and better. You look at old art, Egyptian murals, to Greek art, to Renaissance art. Art has been improving in leaps and bounds over the centuries. And what AI art is doing is now going, okay, we're just going to take what was already created, mush it up together, put out a different result, and there you go. But it's not adding anything new. It's just taking what is already existing, mushing it together, and making a slightly different result. It is 100% based on what is already pre-existing. It cannot add new things. It is just rehashing. So what it has done is, if it's continued in the way that it is doing right now and replaces all artists, let's say, art is going to stop because it has effectively cut off that entire pipeline, all the teachers, all the materials, all the stuff that goes into making art, cut that off, and now it is just rehashing existing stuff. That is no longer improving and adding new elements, is just rehash. That's it. That's not good. That is going to hurt the industry in horrible ways, and it's going to just make the industry boring, really. It's the whole industry, the whole art industry, not just animation pipelines and stuff, but industry as a whole is not going to grow anymore if AI is allowed to do what is currently doing. And now we have a question here, but every artist steal, or you can call it inspiration. AI art takes styles from a different artist. That's what artists actually do. Yeah, so that is a very good point. It is taking inspiration from other artists and kind of mixing it up into a new form. That's what artists do all the time. So what it is doing is technically the same as humans, but what it is not doing is taking it and adding to it. It is taking new form, or like two different artists, mushing them together and spewing out a result. And yes, technically that result is something new, but it's not adding its own element to it, its own version of it. We as humans are almost incapable of copying something directly unless we're tracing over it. The moment that we start to think of, like, let's say I want to copy Michelangelo, a Renaissance artist, and I try to add my own take to it, even if I tried to copy it exactly, there's always going to be slight differences. And more than likely, I'll try to draw my own things too in that style, and it'll create my own unique style from there, and it'll evolve from there. Now, some artists do copy, some artists do trace. That's not usually the best, and that's where you get into a whole bunch of that's a whole other discussion on plagiarism and whatnot. But currently, the way AI art is, it is just a plagiarizer. And Ender, thank you so much for the sub. And technically it is giving new results, but it is taking others' work and tracing it essentially without their permission. And the worst part is monetizing it, and not monetizing it for the artists, the AI artists who are creating the copy, but is monetizing it for the company that's just pumping out this program. And all they're doing is stealing other people's art without their consent to do it. The entire business has been built on stealing other people's art. That's not correct. The way it is being run is not correct. If artists could volunteer into it and go, hey, sure, you can use my work. Give me a little bit of the profits, and then your machine can learn from my work. Great. Then you're still processing that, or being a part of the industry, versus trying to just replace the industry and kick all the artists that you're basing your program on. So what do I think AI should do to make art? Honestly, AI is not a bad thing. So I don't feel like we need to remove AI from the equation at all. Honestly, it's a new tool. It's great. It's got the potential to be something amazing. The problem is that it's being run without a soul, basically, without a heart, without compassion. It is being run in a way to just replace and to copy and to steal. And it needs to be run in a way that will empower artists as well as empower the AI together so everything can grow together. That is what's going to really make it something powerful that will revolutionize the industry versus something that will, in the end, harm the industry to catastrophic levels and kill inspiration. Because if all artists are now afraid of sharing their work because AI is going to steal it, no one's going to post their work anymore, which means AI is going to stop growing. And now it's just going to be rehashing what it currently has. And art as a whole is just going to stop. That's not good. We need the artist to keep growing. We need the AI to keep learning responsibly. It should be a collaboration. So, yeah. I hope that answers the question. And I don't want to make it seem like AI is the devil and it's the worst thing that's ever happened to the industry. No, it is just not being run and used correctly at the moment. It is being used as a replacement versus as a tool to enhance and as a collaborative means. And yes, jobs will disappear. That's going to happen. But that is, to me, not the idea of losing jobs on its own is not a totally valid argument. Mostly because we've been losing jobs for centuries. The entire automotive industry used to be 100% human. All vehicles were made by hand by people. And what happened? Machines came in, replaced the people. Now cars are mostly made by machines. People lost their jobs. The baking industry. You've got a whole giant, like if you look at bread in a superstore, most of that bread is not done by a person. It is done at a factory, and it is just loaves being produced by machines. People have lost their jobs because of that. We cannot stop progress because some people will lose a job. Unfortunately, it's just the way the world works, because as we grow new technologies, it's going to replace certain things. That in and of itself is not a bad thing. The bad thing is when you are doing it in a way that is going to hinder the industry irreparably. And that is what's currently, I see it kind of going towards, if it doesn't change, is that we're going to lose all of that inspiration, all of the human element, the soul that goes into art. And it's just going to become a machine. It's going to look pretty, but it's not going to, let me put it this way. It's going to stop growing and enhancing, and we're going to stop seeing new things. So yeah, it's a tricky situation. And to be fair, it's hard to say where it's going to go because it's still quite new. Let's see. So the irony of the company allegedly saving the prompts, and then they could potentially make an AI that could make AI art. So the tools are the users, not the AI programs. Yeah, technically. So if AI could help artists to do repetitive tasks such as retopology for animation or skin paint weights, for example. Yeah, exactly. That would be great. And I see that happening. Even like the drawing ones, if the AI can help you just create a background or help you come up with poses or camera angles so that instead of having to try and do all of that yourself, you can just kind of more quickly work into something of a final product. Great. But the problem is it's not being used in that way. It's just being used as a replacement. And if you think of like a studio environment, and I'm not putting studios down as in general, it's mostly just like they are trying to make money and lower costs as much as possible. If they start to use AI to replace artists, you're going to see a lot of movies that just feel exactly the same. And a good example of that is music. If you look at older films, so think of Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, all of these older films. And I kind of use all those because those are my favorite films. But think of those old films. Think of the music from them. So many of them are so unique in the music. They have a theme song that is catchy. Jaws. Those theme songs have transcended time and they are still just so good and they stand out. Now think of modern films. You are going to get some modern films that have really interesting music. But if you take out the movies that use pre-existing songs, so for example, the Thor movies, they use a lot of pre-existing songs, which is awesome. I love it. The Thor movies are so much fun. But a lot of films tend to not stand out in terms of the music. Pirates of the Caribbean, that was another good one. Beautiful score in that one. But a lot of modern films, they all kind of feel the same, and the songs are just there. The reason, or one of the reasons, is that studios fell into the habit of using what's called scratch tracks, which is when they're producing the film, they need music to just kind of fill in the silence so they can time things out. And they'll just use the same scratch tracks for movies just to kind of time things out. And then when it comes time to composing music and creating a song, the studio will just go, something like that. And because they're all basing it on the same basic scratch track, you get songs that all feel exactly the same, and every movie has a soundtrack that is very similar. You have that Inception bass drop that every action movie has used and every trailer has used since then. There's so many just similarities because that's what the studio is doing, because it saves money. And that's what you're going to start seeing with art, is if AI starts to come in, okay, at first it's going to be interesting, but very quickly you're going to start feeling the similarity between everything, because they're just going to use the same prompts and the same things all the time. So we have to be very careful of that. And yes, Hans Zimmer, he's an awesome composer. And then I always forget how to pronounce his name, but the composer for this new Star Trek film and Speed Racer, he's good. Michael, I believe. Giacchio, is that how you pronounce his last name? So good. So let me catch up here. Is it compulsory to be good in drawing to pursue a career in 3D industry? No, not at all. I can barely draw. So do you need to know how to draw to be a good CG animator? Not at all. Really, the big thing is learning body mechanics. Now, is it a good idea to learn? It can be. It'll help you, even if it's just like basic thumbnailing skills, just being able to do quick little doodles. That's all you really need. It just helps speed up some of your workflow. So let me catch up with the chat here. Let's see. James Baxter had a fantastic rant. Let me catch up here. Okay. So this is I believe a rant from James Baxter. Let's see. I love it. You're absolutely right. I love how you underline the intent of the artist. Those who would seek to replace artists with machine learning and AI clearly don't understand what art is for. Replace stuff that people don't want to do or can't do. But people get joy and their livelihood from creating art, and they want to do it. It's one of the things that makes us human. I'm no Luddite, and I love using new tools to create my animation. But when it starts to encroach upon the fulfillment that I get from creating, then no thanks. You might argue that this is just interpolation and chill out, but my response to that is just wait. That is just getting started. Yeah, that's a great point. AI and all of these tools, ideally, they should be removing all the tasks that we hate to do so that we can focus on all the fun stuff. That's what motion capture has done in a lot of ways. It's removed some of the mindlessness of basic body mechanics and trying to recreate stuff that is more physically correct. You have a lot of that built for you. And now you can focus on more of the artistic side of it. That's really cool. AI and programs like Cascader, which people have mentioned in the chat here, I have looked into it a little bit more since the last stream, and it looks really cool, but it still has a lot of the artistic element to it. It hasn't removed it completely. So I see Cascader as being a very helpful program in a lot of ways. There's always going to be that artistic element with that type of program. That's good. The moment that you essentially go, okay, the program's going to do 100% of the work and all the artists get out, which is what AI art currently is kind of aiming towards, you're going to run into a lot of issues. Or you're also going to have the let AI art do like 99% of the work, and then the artists come in to do the boring stuff. That's not going to be... that's the opposite of what should be happening. It should be helping the artists remove the tedious stuff so they can focus on the creative stuff. I wish I could draw a single line properly. Drawing a single line is surprisingly hard when you want to start off. One of the biggest things is learning how to draw from the shoulder, not the wrist. That's going to make a huge difference. And this is something my brother taught me. So let me just kind of bring this up here. So we're going, my lip sync dialogue, my lip sync demo, which I said, oh, we're going to start right away. We've kind of derailed it on this chat, but this is a good topic. I want to go over it. Just this whole AI stuff. So just in drawing a line. So let me share my screen here. If you're drawing from your wrist or worse, your fingers, you're going to have problems drawing lines, and you're going to have problems just creating art in general most of the time. So for example, if I try to draw a line with just my fingers, which is what most people will tend to do, they're going to do this. I can draw right here. This is my range of motion right now. And just with fingers like that. And you'll notice that the lines kind of get scratchy, and to make a long motion, I have to do this. And you'll notice how we feel these breaks in the lines, and everything feels very bland. Now, if I use my wrist, I have this range of motion, and already you can see, that feels a little bit better. But same thing, if I try to draw a circle, you'll see that, now let's try to do an actual circle. To do this with my wrist, I'm still kind of falling into this, what's typically called a chicken scratch style. And you get these weird breaks in your lines. It's not interesting. And when you're trying to do a straight line, it's very hard to do. Now, if you're drawing from your shoulder, your range of motion is pretty much unlimited. So I can draw a line like that, and look how smooth that is. That whole line, nice and smooth the whole way. Not only that, but we can play around with the line weight. The beginning here is much thinner than over here. And when you practice more, you can really push that and get that interesting line weight through there. So you can see I narrowed it down here, made it thicker there. You can play around with that. And if you're making a circle, just with the shoulder, you can do a small circle like this. I haven't warmed up, so my circles are going to be a little weird here. Or I could do a circle like that. And that's all drawing with a whole arm. And my wrist and my fingers stay still. I'm just doing this. That's going to improve your line work so much. It takes practice. You're going to start off with this, and it's going to suck, and it's going to feel weird, and your arm is going to get tired really quick. But the more you practice, the more you're going to be able to get clean lines just in general with your work. So I'm just drawing all of this stuff here. and just, I don't know what I'm drawing. I'm just kind of making lines. There we go. But you're going to notice that as you're doing that, you're just going to have much cleaner lines in all of your work. And then you can save the wrist motion and the finger motions for little details, like in this case, the eye right here. I can just kind of get that a little bit with some small wrist motions. So yeah, learning to draw with your shoulder, huge improvements in your work. The other thing is to learn how to draw lightly. Don't press down, because if you're pressing hard, your line is not going to be that nice. You'll notice that it's going to start waving a little bit. If you draw lightly and kind of not quick, you don't have to rush it, but don't dawdle, you're going to get nice clean lines in your work. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Now let's see. And can you show us AI art? I don't have any examples on my computer right now. But if you just do a search for AI art, you'll find a lot of it. What I don't understand is the OpenAI stands on creating a utopia with AI, but why not work with a field that's helpful, like having an AI to help in the research for the cure for cancer or other diseases? Art was never a problem that needed to be solved. The reason, if you look kind of deeper, is that you've got a bunch of very rich people who want to save money and not have to hire artists anymore. That's the whole reason AI art was developed, which is, again, the whole thing I was saying earlier about the way AI art is being run right now is heartless and soulless. It is there only to save money without the thought of improving the industry, only to replace the industry because they don't want to have to deal with people and have to deal with paying people to do work. They want to just be able to put in a machine and have it done for them, and that's it. That's not the way to run an industry. That's not the way to try and improve a world. That's just mean. So yeah, I totally agree with that thing of like, if they were truly interested in developing AI art to help, they could have developed it in so many other fields or with specific ways of improving the life of an artist, and they didn't. And Tara, thank you so much for the sub. Aw, thank you so much. Let's see, I have a question. Many studios in my country need an animator that can do more than one thing. Yeah, so basically a generalist, rigging, whatnot. But my only source of knowledge about 3D was Animation Mentor. So I don't know anything about rigging. Do you recommend any sources to learn how to rig, preferably free or very cheap? I don't have any resources on rigging, unfortunately. You could take a look at, let me see if I can find it here. Actually, no, I don't know. There's, why can't I think of the name? No, normal, something normal. Flip normals. They might have some stuff on rigging. I'm looking at their site right now. 3D modeling, base message. No, it doesn't look like they have rigging. No. Honestly, YouTube is probably going to be your best bet. And just searching for tutorials on basic rigging. Rigging is tough though, so if possible, I would try to invest some money in more of a course. Again, it depends on your budget and whatnot, but rigging is definitely one of those things that it's going to be hard to learn on your own, just because there's so many things that can happen with rigging. It is probably one of the harder industries, even though it is not as artistic as animation and whatnot. It's more technical a lot of times. There's so many little nuances to make a really truly good rig. Oh, there you go. Rigging Dojo. I should check out Rigging Dojo. I've always wanted to get back into rigging. I used to do it a little bit, but I should get back into it if I get some free time. So yeah, check those out. That's a great resource from A to the J. I believe it was it A to the J or Mirror Knight. There you go. My eyes got crooked there. I saw a link and I assumed A to the J posted it. Oh no, he did post it. Haha. Okay, I was right and wrong. Let's see. Let's see. I feel like I'll just double down on being a specialist at this point. It's whichever one you want. If you really want to specialize in animation, just make your animation skills as high as you can. That's not a bad thing. It might make it harder to get started in the industry, but just, again, smaller studios are looking for generalists a lot of the time. But in the end, you're probably going to get a good specialized job later on, which there's no one is better than the other. I'm kind of a generalist. I specialize in animation, but over the years, I've kind of branched out in a lot of different ways. So I would be considered a generalist as well. But when I work at a studio, I like to just animate. That's what I want to do. I don't want to try and rig. I don't want to model. I don't want to do stuff like that. I like to do that on my own time. I love to animate when I work. So that's what when I submit my reel to studios, I don't show any of my other work. It's just animation. That way they don't kind of lump me in and go, oh, you can do all this other stuff? Yeah, let's put that on your plate too. No, just give me animation work. Let's see. I wonder when the rigging systems of Turning Red will be public. Oh yeah. Oh, those new rigging systems. So good. So good. It's going to be interesting to see when those types of rigs become commonplace. Ooh, nice. I'll have to check out this from Deco. Yeah, these YouTube videos as well. Nice. I'm getting my own resources. Haha. Let's see. What was the biggest things that you worked on? Unfortunately, I haven't worked on any major projects right now. The biggest project that I worked for, I can't even say what it was because it's stuck in non-disclosure hell. So, yay. Essentially, I worked on a project and it kind of got shelved. And because of the non-disclosure agreements, no one can say anything about it. And it's just stuck in limbo forever. It's never going to be released. So, can't really say anything about it. Most of the stuff I've worked on is small freelance projects here and there. So, unfortunately, nothing huge. Yeah, it sucks when that happens, but it happens. Now, I'm lucky in that it happened to me on a project that I was just helping on. Like, I was an animator hired to work on it. I know a lot of people that have had that happen to projects that they have created. So, this is a little bit of a side topic, but it's something we all have to be careful of, especially if your dream is to go into more directorial or writing or creative work. Be very careful of contracts. Now, sometimes we have to accept them, but sometimes when you write a contract, you give essentially exclusive rights to the studio or the production company on your creation. And what that means is that if they decide, you know what, we're not going to have this go out, we're just going to shelve it. We don't have any plans for it, we just don't like it, so we're going to put it on the shelf. The thing that you might have spent years developing and creating, and like this is your project, the thing that you're most inspired to create and share with the world, it is stuck in a vault somewhere and you can't do anything about it. Be very careful and read your contracts. I know many people who have worked on this. I have a friend who they were writing a book. They spent years researching and writing and creating this novel. It was going to be this whole series of books. They were so excited for it. The production company basically went, nah, we don't want to release your book anymore. Put it on the back shelf, and that's where it's going to stay forever. all the characters they created, all the whole world that they created, it's stuck on a back shelf somewhere and they have nothing that they can do about it. That sucks. That is horrible. We saw this recently with the Hulu Warner Brothers thing. Was it Hulu? I believe it was Hulu. Where they just removed a bunch of content because they bought out a company and went, nah, we don't want that material. We're going to try to save money. And a whole bunch of cartoons and animations that people spent years developing and creating were removed from all of these streaming services and are essentially gone. It's like they never existed. And the creators can't do anything about it. All of these shows that they spent so much of their life working on and trying to create, gone. So as artists, we need to be very careful about our works. Now, sometimes we can't avoid it. That's how the industry is, which is a shame. I don't like that part of the industry. But always be aware and be careful. Read your contracts. In my case, again, I was just working on a project, so I lost some of the animations that I did. Meh, I can animate other things. It's not a big deal. It hurt at the time, but not the end of the world. It's more the creators that I pity and wish that they could have more power over their own projects. Let's see. I animated some cycles for an indie game. It was a superhero character, but I didn't animate the hair or cape. They were simulated on Unity, so the cycle kind of looks weird inside Maya because the hair and cape are stiff. How do I put those things on my reel? Do I grab the footage from the engine or do I hide the hair inside Maya? You could do one or the other. Honestly, it really just depends on which one looks better. So if you have the cape animation and looks great in game and in the engine, use that. If you've got it and the cape is just hiding a bunch of your animation, especially if you're doing a turntable type view and it's hiding the whole back of the character as they're walking and running, maybe remove that. Or you could show both versions, maybe a turntable of just your Maya footage and then a clip of it in the game engine working with the cape and the hair and all of that. So you don't want to just repeat the same footage too much, but if you can kind of blend it in and show it succinctly, that would work. But really at the end of the day, it's whichever one looks better and which one kind of shows your skills off in a better way. That's really it. Did I work on games? I have done game animation, but I have not worked in games. So I have worked in Unreal a little bit. I've done some projects in Unreal, personal projects and whatnot. I have not worked at a game studio. So the entire game pipeline, I have a lot of friends who work in games, but I myself have not been in a game pipeline. But games are a lot of fun. From the projects that I've worked on my own for game stuff, it is so much fun. It is such a cool, unique feeling that you don't get in any other animation industry. Highly recommend. If any of you are learning animation, like your goal is to work on a big movie and feature film, don't be afraid to open up your prospects in your mind to gaming and television and whatnot. Even though that might not be the exact thing that you're aiming for, there's a lot of cool elements in those two industries. And I would highly recommend everyone at least give it a try if you have a chance, just to see if you might like it or not. Some people don't. Some people are not a fan of game animation and they prefer doing feature film type stuff. But I know quite a few animators who they never wanted to touch games. They were feature film animators. That's all they were ever going to do. And then they had to take a project in games and they never left games. They fell in love with it and never left. I know one animator who worked in films for like 20 years or something like that, maybe a little longer, went to games for one project and has never left for the last, I think it's been 5 years now, because they're just loving it so much and they kind of wish they had jumped in sooner. So yeah, give it a try. You never know. Yes, we are on so many tangents. Let's see. I made a group, 6 total, of short let's see. I made with a group a short animation for 3 months. Ooh, nice. Quite proud of it. Do you mind me sharing it to look at? Sure. I'd love to take a look at it. I don't know if I'll take a look at it on stream today, but I can take a look at it next stream if you're okay with that. But I'd love to take a look at it anyway. So let me save this. Let's see, how long is it? Okay, 2 minutes. Can I do it? Ooh, it looks good. Okay. Okay, I'll have to look at it on my own, just because I'm not sure how Twitch's what is it called? I'm blanking on the name. Copyright issues and stuff like that work, but I'd love to take a look at it on stream if possible, maybe next time. Yeah, DMCA, that's it. That's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, don't want a copyright strike. The joy of streaming. So it's self-made music. Okay, cool. Nice. That's going to help a lot. So I'll take a look at it after the stream here. I'm excited. Okay. So, and everyone else, take a look at it. It's going to be awesome. See, I'm aiming for the gaming industry, and recently I started to learn Unreal. Nice. And it's really fun to put your animations in a game engine. It gives you a different perspective on your animation. It really does. There's that very awesome feeling of taking your animation and seeing it move and being able to control it. And especially seeing a whole bunch of different animations come together to make a character really live and breathe. It's a very unique feeling. Let's see. So, with all of this, I think I answered all the questions. If I missed any, definitely feel free to repost them. But if there aren't any new questions, we might jump into the demo. And then if we have time, I probably won't do feedback today, unfortunately. But if we have time, I'll try to take a look at Tech Draconis' shot on this stream. If not, we'll do that next stream if there's no copyright issues. Ooh, is it better to use multiple cameras or use one camera on stepped? So I'm assuming you mean if you have a scene with multiple shots, so you have a whole sequence and it's going from one camera angle to another to another. In general, it is better to use different scenes. So don't use multiple cameras, use multiple scenes, a totally different Maya scene, a different file. So that way, when you're animating, it's very easy to separate them out, render them, and then you can combine them later. That is usually the best way to do it, because that's how studios do it, because they're working with a bunch of different people. It keeps things clean, keeps the files smaller. If you end up corrupting a file or a scene, you're not losing the entire sequence. That tends to be better. If you are just doing a short assignment on your own, I typically recommend using multiple cameras instead of one camera on sept, because it's a little bit easier to kind of compare all the different scenes together. But again, with that said, it really depends on your workflow. One camera on step could also work too. I've used all three of those workflows. My preferred one is a totally different Maya scene. So a different file altogether. It just gives you the most control. And it is a pain at first because you're having to open two different scenes and you just want to make a quick transition from one to the other. But really it's... Jeez. So thank you so much for all the gifts. Oh man, geez, thank you so much. But yeah, so thank you so much. I really appreciate that. The benefits you get from having multiple files is usually better than the benefits you get out of one large file. Usually. But honestly, whatever gives you the results you need for the project you need. If it's a small shot with just two cameras, a quick animating the camera works great. The problem that you're going to run into, and again, this is why productions will use the multiple cameras, is that when you're adding motion blur and rendering, it's going to break if you're using one scene. It's just not going to work correctly. It's going to be messy. It's going to not work nicely. You're going to get motion blur in weird areas. It's not going to be good. So yeah, for your own projects, one animated camera, or you could use multiple cameras and the camera timeline, the tracks editor, I believe it's called. That could work too. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So with that, I think we're pretty much ready to go into the actual demo here. So let's jump in once more to lip sync. And we'll try to block out the lip sync as quickly as we can here. So once again, let me just open this up here. See what we started off with. Oh, and the troll, definitely feel free to ask. So today it's become more of an open question stream, which I'm totally happy with. I love answering questions. So as you're typing out that answer here, or the question, you'll type the answer out to your own question. There you go. Could you hydrate, please? Thank you for the reminder. That feels much better. So thank you. So with that, let's jump in here. So here we have our current animation. You can see we don't have the mouth motion. We've got the face and the accents, the moments where the body moves with where the audio should happen. It's all in there. Now, before we go into lip sync, a lot of the time, I will admit, not all of the time, but a lot of the time I like to plan out as much as I can of the dialogue. Now, I will say this about dialogue. There are not really any rules or easy to fall back on things to do in dialogue to just make it work right away. The big reason being is that it's so unique to the character and to the emotion that they are going through. So what I mean by this is, for example, you'll see a lot of people who will just say, oh, you just put in the sounds, use a sound library. So for example, here's our Maya file right here. And you can open up a studio library like this. It's got all of your phonemes. So here we have all of the sounds that a character can make. And as a mentor, as an animation teacher, I see a lot of people use this kind of thing to base all of their lip sync on. Now, is that bad? No, and yes. No, it is not bad because it gives you a good starting point. But yes, it is bad because a lot of people, when they use this as is. They'll just drop it in, done. That's the sound for the mouth, I'm good. And they leave it as that, and you're just going to get this generic mouth motion. The other thing to keep in mind with this is that when you are animating, especially as a student, and you download a rig or you're using a school rig, you might have a pose library created for you. Great. But this is a generic pose library. As good as this is, it is still generic. It is not a pose library for a character, which means that if you use this and don't change it or just change it slightly, what you are going to get is a generic character out of it. You're not going to get a unique character or a unique performance because everyone talks differently. Everyone moves their mouth differently. And that will even change based on the emotion of a character, how tired the character is, what is their mental state at the time. So pose libraries, good. Definitely feel free to use them if that's your preferred method, but do not become over-reliant on them. They can very easily, again, especially as a student or with a open rig, not a specific studio rig that is a character for a specific film, you're just going to get a lot of generic moments in there. So what we want to do is we want to think of, okay, what is this character emoting? What are they feeling? How can I use that? And how can I create an artistic flow to the dialogue. Now, this is not there's one way to do this and then you're going to be good. Because once again, there's different workflows, there's different emotional states, there's different requirements for different scenes. So for today, I'm going to show a kind of straightforward method to it. So what I mean by straightforward is that we're going to start at the beginning and we're just going to start animating, and we're going to be kind of using everything together to just create the forms. I'm going to do straight ahead animation. You could do more of a pose to pose method, which I might do a little bit in certain areas. Or you could do a layered method, which is you could animate the jaw first, then you add the mouth corners in, then you add the lips in, and you just kind of build it up like that. I personally am not a fan of a layered method for lip sync most of the time. The big reason being is that lip sync, again, is very emotional. It's very tied into what we're feeling at any moment. And if you're kind of just stuck on what does the jaw do, open that. What do the corners do? Move those in and out. It's very easy to lose the emotion and once again fall into generic mouth emotion. The mouth is just moving for the sake of moving. So what I did here is I did a combination of looking at my own reference, which I have here. So I looked at my reference, looked at what my mouth was doing, but I will admit, for my own reference, I am not the most eloquent with my mouth. I tend to speak very stiffly, especially when I'm recording reference. If I'm talking, I'll just talk like this with very little inflection or motion in my mouth. I'm just not thinking about it. I'm not thinking of emoting and exaggerating. So what I'm going to do here, what I tend to do when I am planning out a shot, is I will just try to feel it out and think of how do I want this mouth to move. Now, things to watch out for. The biggest one, chattery motion. Chattery motion is when there's just too much jaw motion or too much mouth corner motion. This is probably one of the biggest things that I will see students fall into when they first do dialogue. The characters are going to be talking and their jaw is going to open all the time for every single word. And the mouth corners are going to go in and out, in and out, in and out for every single shape and change like this. And this is something that you'll get with studio libraries or with pose libraries. The mouth is just going to start chattering for no reason. If you look at the mouth, it kind of holds a pose and it stays there. And there's going to be small changes, but it's not going in and out all the time. So what I want to try and do is I want to exaggerate that. I don't want the mouth to just stay there the whole time and just talk. A character talks like this with no changes. That's going to be boring. But I want to create a flow in the mouth. So one of the big things, and let me just show my planning here. So let's open this up. So this is some of the planning I've shown before. What we're looking at right now is just this section right here. So the first two columns. This first column here is the phonemes for the dialogue. So this is all the sounds I need to animate right there. We planned this out in week 1. And I just wrote all of this out. So this is my exact timing for all of the different sounds. And I also marked out which are the most important sounds. So for example, the P here, I need that mouth closed. I need L and D, the tongue has to flick against the roof of the mouth. The Z, F, M sounds, all of these require very specific moments in the lips and the mouth and the jaw to happen. So I need to hit these specifically. There's specifics I need to have happen. The rest is kind of open to interpretation and whatever works best in that moment. So for example, an E sound here, right there, E stereotypically is E. It's very wide, E. But if the character is angry, they go E, E. See that? My mouth corner is closed, E. They're not wide. So if my character is really angry, I'm not going to go, let's say they're going to say thief. they're chasing after a thief and they've caught them. You thief. They're not going to go, you thief, you thief. That's too much. That's weird. Instead, it's you thief, you thief. The corner kind of go a little bit out, but the character remains in their angry state. Now, vice versa, we go you, ooh. That is a very specific ooh shape. The stereotype is, or the cliche is, ooh, very big ooh shape. But maybe the character is smiling. You. It's a corner pinch now. You. We're not going you and then back out. You. That's weird. Again, you see that when I do that, it just kind of pops back. It's you. And then comes back into the smile. So I'm not trying to take my lip sync and just put it into cliches. I want to fit it to the emotional state. So as I'm planning this out, I'm trying to think, okay, how can I break this down in the most clear way? So what I've done here is I've done in red. So all of these red notes here, these are the basic jaw motions that I want, as well as any important lip motion that I want. So lips moving up or down. So for example, I want the jaw to start in a relaxed state. I was just kind of looking again at my reference and feeling it out. So the character's gonna go happy holidays. When they start, their mouth isn't gonna be closed tight. It's gonna be relaxed, jaw slightly open. So I'm gonna keep that jaw relaxed and we go into the ha. So jaw opens, ha, closes a little bit for the P, ha, closes right here, P, ha, it opens up again, days. And then we close it on the Z. The Z, the teeth have to be closed. So the jaw right here is going to be shut by this point. And this is just me feeling it out, looking at my reference. And a good thing for jaw motion is just put your hand under your jaw and feel out the motions. So happy holidays. Ah is wider than ah. I can feel that when I'm doing this. Happy holidays, happy holidays. So that ah is a little shorter. And I'll just do that for the whole shot. Look at where the jaw motion is going. And if I start to notice any section where the jaw is going, let's say up here, closes, and then it goes down, and then it opens up again, and it goes down, and then it opens up again, and it goes down. I'll take a look at that and go, okay, how can I simplify this? If I have this in quick succession here, the character's just going blah, 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 blah. That's not going to be very good. So I'm going to think, okay, how can I adjust this and make this work? An example here in my shot is holidays. So we get happy, ha, it opens up, it comes in, closes, d, the days, the d sound, your tongue flicks against the roof of your mouth, d, and you can see it here, d, d. My jaw drops down a little bit. So now on the D here, it's going to open up again, and then we have to close it for the days. So we get this, open, close, open, close. That's going to get very bouncy right there. How can I simplify this? Well, one of my favorite ways of simplifying things in lip sync, and this goes for mouth corners, jaw motions, for anything, is what I usually call the stair step method. So instead of going ha, it opens up, or wait, I'm going the wrong way. So it goes ha, p, ha, days. So we do this. Happy holidays. This is opening, opening, opening. So we go happy days. So we're getting that. Instead, what we can go is ha, down, b, goes up, ha. Now you'll notice I'm not hitting the same peaks and valleys here. I'm making one bigger. So this is the ha, p, ah, L, we can close a little bit more here. And then, or actually, let's do this. So happy holidays. Instead of going up, down, up like this, I can go up like that. The mouth starts to close, but instead of opening it up here again, I can just hold like this. So this creates a stair step. Instead of reversing the direction, we just stop it. So the jaw goes happy ha, l, d. It stays there. Is. So we get that pause drop right here. So this is the D, Z right there. So like that. See how that is a little bit more dynamic and visually interesting than this. So instead of just kind of bouncing the jaw up and down, up and down, up and down, we can start to create a little bit of a rhythm in there. And by adjusting the heights of the peaks and valleys, so we're not always hitting the same low and the same high, we get something more dynamic. So that's what I'm trying to look for in my dialogue. I find the extremes and then see if I can simplify them and sometimes even remove certain parts. So we'll see that usually in mouth corners a lot more. I hope this makes sense so far. I know we're kind of jumping from a lot of different things. Lip sync is very organic. I will say that. It's a lot of times what feels right. As long as you hit the main important sounds, once again, those would be like the V's and the whatnot. So like what we have here, P, Z, F, M. As long as you're hitting those, everything else is very fluid. So I did a pass on the jaw and important lip motions, just open and close right here. The next thing I did was in pink here, I looked at the mouth corners. And this is probably, how to put this? Out of everything that I see students struggle with, the mouth corners are usually one of the bigger ones. Because mouth corners is very easy to just have them go in and out, in and out, in and out with no rhyme or reason. They're just doing that because once again, you're hitting those phoneme libraries. E's have to be way out. Oohs have to be way in. And you're just hitting every one of those shapes. And like an ah sound has to be a certain shape and a F sound has to be a certain shape. Once again, look at a phoneme library. You'll notice that there's these kind of generic moments where E's are very wide, F's are narrower, M's I tend to see students more of a neutral shape to them. O's are very narrow. There's these cliches that these mouth poses hit, and what ends up happening is you're getting dialogue that just does this all the time. But it's much simpler than that a lot of the time, especially based on the emotion of the character. So here I just drew out whether the mouth is going to be wide or narrow, just with these arrows here. So in my case, I want the character to start with a big smile on their face. They're going to have a big smile, ha, very wide, ha, it's going to open up, ha, be ha, ah. The mouth will tend to come in a little bit just because of the ah shape. It's a little rounder compared to an ah. Ah is wide, ah, or let me, ha, I should say ah. Ha is higher up, ha, compared to ha, ha, gets lower. Not typically the jaw, but the mouth. Happy holidays. So I'm going to bring that in a little bit. But the main reason that I'm bringing this in is because we're going into the F. F, compared to the pose before, is going to be narrower. Now, is it always the case? No. It's because the character is smiling. If you smile, here, get a big wide smile. So, ha, it stays wide. If I go from, f, my corners of the mouth will drop in. So happy, from. My mouth has to come in because I'm biting my lip here. From, happy, from. I know that has to come in. Now, like I said, does that always have to happen? No. If I'm going happy, if someone's like really pissed off and they go, are you happy? Happy? That's going to be pretty narrow there. And then it can go happy from, happy, happy, from. I could go wider there in that instance. Would I? It depends on the character and their emotional state, but I am choosing that. So in my case, because I know I'm going to start wide, I know I'm going to smile. That means that the F has to come in here. The character has to bring in the corner there. Now, what I could have done, let's do that over, let's just draw it over here. I could have had the mouth actually start narrower here. So he's happy holidays. And I make holidays the big smile. Happy holidays, wider. Great. I'm making that change. So now this widens out here. But then I have to still go in for the F. So what have I done? I've just made it bounce. Doot, 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 like that. By starting wide and narrowing down, I'm just coming down, down like that. So I'm trying to think, how can I simplify those mouth corners to create a flow? And again, this is very organic and there's no solid rule to this, but this is how I like to think about dialogue. And is it going to stay exactly like I draw here? No, it might change. But I'm trying to think, okay, how can I simplify this? So happy holidays, from comes in, from me goes way out, because E is, especially if a character is happy, from me. I want it wide. I don't go from me in a tiny little mouth. No, I want this wide, from me to you. And then it comes into the ooh right here. Ooh, now it comes in. So I know I'm going to have that big range there, but because I made sure that this whole beginning was a little simpler, I'm not going to get a bounce. And again, I like to draw these. I showed this last week, but this is my range of motion. So this is the corners here. So I'm going to start out a little narrower, come out for the H. So for the happy, it's going to start a little bit more relaxed. Happy holidays. So this would be the R right here. Holidays, from me to you. And the E, I'm probably going to make it a little less wide than the H. So it's going to be happy, and then me, a little bit more relaxed. Specifically so that I'm not bouncing from the E all the way down to the ooh and making a big sharp snap right there. If the E was higher up here and then had to drop down, that's going to be a big change of direction. Maybe it'll work, maybe not. We'll see. We can play around with it. But essentially, before I even start into animation, I'm just trying to think this out so that I'm not having to redo a whole bunch of lip sync later on. And here you can see this is the jaw motion. So here we have the H, ha, p, it would close here. For the P, holidays, z, this would be closed. From ooh, from me to you. It doesn't really change from the to the ooh right here. So it just closes. But I'm just making sure that I have that kind of range of motion, that they're not just kind of bouncing and having the same peaks and valleys. And also that I'm simplifying it so that it's not wiggling for no reason. I hope that makes sense. So this is a lot of the things that I'm trying to think of when I'm approaching lip sync. Now, the other things that I try to think of is how to make the mouth asymmetrical. Because the other thing that I see a lot of students struggle with, and this again comes from pose libraries, is that when they talk, characters talk and the corners are symmetrical on both sides and they go out and in, and everything stays symmetrical to the face. That's not interesting. You'll notice that when I talk, I will switch from one side of my mouth to the other. And I kind of favor that side. So my mouth is swinging from side to side. In this case, one of the big things that I want to try and do, I don't know if it'll work, but I have my character talking to someone off screen over here. So I'm going to try and use the mouth to push the directionality of the scene. So for example, he goes, happy holidays from me to you. And what I can do is use the mouth almost like pointing from me to you, point in, point out. So I can have the mouth go from me, go out here. So happy holidays from me to you. And then have the ooh point towards there. So it's very subtly creating that from me to you right there in the lips versus from me to you. And they stay just generic up down motion. That's it. So here I just kind of planned out the timing for it. I'm thinking of having that first mouth swing for the me over screen right, start over here, kind of end right there. And that's going to be the swing over. And then from the ooh, there it is right there. And you can see I just drew little doodles. Those are just for me to understand what's going on. And then the last thing that I drew here, and this is in purple, is just this out motion here. This is specifically just notes for me to make sure that I push the mouth out. Ooh. So for example, when the character goes from you, the lips need to be pulled out. Ooh. And then the same thing in the from here. I could just go from me to you, from me to you. But wouldn't it be more interesting if the character went from, and the lips go out, So we get that out in motion. So I just kind of timed that out and put that in here. Now, does this mean this is the only area that I'm going to do that? No, but I'm just putting that in to have a marker of, okay, I really want to sell this moment here. Don't forget. So that's my basic planning. Honestly, do you have to do all of this? No, not at all. You could just go straight ahead. You could go pose to pose, whatever you want. But as long as you're trying to think of that mouth as an organic thing and not as just this series of cliche poses that just have to hit one after the other. So I hope that helps. I hope this kind of makes sense. I know it was just a lot of talking about planning, but this is the way my brain tends to work with lip sync most of the time. So with all of that said, I'm going to keep this up here, but once again, you don't have to do this as long as you're thinking of the shapes and the organic motion of the character, and especially the attitude of the character. That's going to be the most important thing. So let me make sure this is, there we go. Cool. So, and a Hannibal, a phoneme library, or technically the correct term would be a Viseme library. Is something like this. It's just a series of poses that you can apply to your rig, and it gives you the pose to start with. So for example, here, if I was using this, I know that on frame 8, I'm going to go into the so happy holidays. I would find the pose, so probably this one because it's smiling, and I could just drop that in there. Great. But once again, that's going to give me a very generic feeling to the pose, which is not a bad thing, but if I don't change it from there, it's gonna feel very strange. I personally like to sculpt poses myself. It's more fun for me. I like to do it. So let's just start blocking things in here. Now I'm just gonna start from frame 1. Now, based on my planning right here, I know that the jaw is going to be relaxed right there. So I'm just going to have that jaw open up slightly, and we want to keep that smile. But once again, if we look at my mouth corners here, I want to start in a little narrower before we go into the happy, big and wide. So with that, let's just take this here. And the first thing I'm going to do is relax this jaw and make sure I have everything keyed here as well. So let's relax the jaw just a little bit. Bring the lip down here so we can actually see the teeth. I just want this slightly relaxed here, not hanging open. He's not drooling at this point, but I don't want those teeth like connected together. Now, when you're doing this, one thing to keep in mind is when we're smiling, the top lip doesn't really have that much of a bend to it. So see here, if I straighten his head, how that top lip has a curl down. When we're smiling, our top lip gets pulled and stretched along the teeth. So you'll often see this actually come up a little bit more. So this is actually going to be a little flatter right here. So I'm just going to exaggerate that just a tiny bit here. I might also, let's just reset this control, make sure we're not getting any extra motion that I don't want here. Okay. So we've got that. Now, I also like to pose out the teeth as I am working. Typically, I like to rotate the teeth a little bit. As an extreme example here, if the character is facing like this, see how that just makes a much more appealing facial pose right there? Having those teeth kind of come up like that, it avoids the teeth feeling like you're getting a parallel line between the lip and the teeth. Even though technically it's incorrect and our teeth don't move, they are stuck to our skull, it just tends to make poses look more interesting. So for example here, let's actually zoom in here. See how those teeth are just following the exact line of the lip? That feels creepy and weird. So I like to just exaggerate that a little bit more here. And it depends on the project. If I'm doing something really cartoony, I'll just go all out with this. So you could go something like that. For something more naturalistic, I will try to keep it something more like this. On this rig, you also have different controls that you can move up and down to stretch the teeth. I'm used to the rotations, but whichever ones work better for you. So with this, I can actually relax that mouth even more. Since I rotated those teeth, let's just bring this in here a little bit. I'll bring those teeth down a little bit as well. And let's actually I just want to show this. So if you don't want to rotate the teeth, the other thing would be to move these controls. As you move them, just be aware that you can also rotate them. So this is going to help you get that nice organic flow and not wiggle them. So you could do something like this as well. Again, whichever one you prefer, I just want to show this here, the difference. You end up getting pretty much the same thing. The big thing with this is it's more controls to deal with, which I'm not a fan of, because the more controls you have, the more polish can become a little bit of a pain. Okay, so something like that. For now, don't get too caught up on the details. So we've got that. One thing I also like to do is I pinch the corners of the mouth a little bit. I feel it just gives a more natural look to the mouth a lot of the time. So we'll start here. We don't want to get too caught up in this. So that's going to be the relaxed mouth slightly open. From there, let's go into the happy pose. Ha. So I know my mouth corners are going to be widest here on frame 7, and I marked where my jaw is going to be at the lowest here. Do I need to get all of this in right now? No. I'm just going to get the sounds that I want first. Kind of go straight ahead, block out the main shapes, and then from there I can refine the overlap and whatnot. So let's go to frame 7. Right here. And I've got some extra keys here from that first pass of the mouth that I did. I'm just going to get rid of those. At this point, we're going to be animating things ourselves. So I'm just going to copy from frame 1 to frame 7. That way I have the same pose here. And I should also make sure, yeah, I'm missing the teeth controls right here in my quick select set. So I'm going to make sure I have those as well. I should also make sure I have the tongue selected. There we go. So let's add those to the mouth set here. And key those. Okay. So now we're going into the happy. Ha. So at this point, the jaw is going to be pretty open. And if we look at my planning, this is going to be the most open that we're going to get. Everything else should kind of go down from there. So I could just open this a little bit, but I'm going to go quite a ways here, just because it's easier to tone it down later than to try and scale it back up. So he's going to be happy. And right here, the corner of the mouth is going to go out. And this is going to be pretty much the widest point that we get for the mouth. So it's going to go out here. Same thing here. That mouth corner is going to go out. So we get that ha moment there. Now, as we do this happy, I can do it two ways. I can have the teeth the lower teeth be more visible, or keep them hidden right here. Our lips have the ability to move over top of our teeth, so we don't want to just do the jaw motion here. Now, because I'm showing a little bit of teeth here, I'm going to keep showing a little bit of teeth right there. Happy. And let's kind of pull this in just a little bit. So, maybe I'll push this a little bit more. I'm just going straight down for now. Later on, I'm going to add a little bit of asymmetry, so I can add some jaw motion this way or something like this. For now, I want to just make sure I kind of get the main shapes in there. Let's push the depth in here just a little bit, so it feels like it's wrapping around the teeth. And then the top lip, if I do this, you'll notice that the top lip isn't really changing very much. If he's smiling some more, I want to show or have that lip kind of come up. So what I'm going to do is actually lower it here at the beginning, so we feel that stretch later on without having to bring this up higher and we get just gums, which is going to be creepy. Right there. And I can push the teeth. Now that he's smiling here, I can see that that just stays a little too similar right there. But for now, let's see. We go from there, happy. Let's just go as wide as we can. We can always tone it down. And like I said early at the beginning, at this point, you're starting to feel a disconnect in the eyes. See how his mouth is going out, but we're not feeling that connection right here of the cheek. This should push up here, and then that would push the eyelid up as well on that side. That's fine. We can adjust that later. Right now, I'm mostly focused on just getting the mouth shapes working. So, happy. Let's get those teeth working for this pose. So already that works a little bit better. Let's take the bottom teeth. And for the bottom teeth, what I'm going to try to do is just hide the molars on the back there. We don't need to see those. So I can just kind of do this. And then I'm just going to bring this down right there. If you're going to light your scene, you can just hide those in shadows. But in general, you can just do something like this. I can even move the tongue a little bit just to fill that mouth in a little bit better. So we get that better kind of angle from this camera right there. So one thing with this is now you'll notice that the teeth will slide as the character opens their mouth. So what I'm going to do now is just going to take those tongue and teeth. Since this is closed, the exact position doesn't really matter as much. So I'm going to go from frame 7, copy that to frame 1 again. So we've got this pose. I'll have to make a small tweak because his teeth look like they're kind of impacted there. So a small change there. Maybe a little lower. Something like that. And then we go into that. Okay, so very roughly, there's my ha. Now, the next important shape is going to be the P. So let's go into this one here. So for a P shape, same thing with a B. So B and P. The mouth has to be closed 2 frames before that sound. So here we have the P sound on the frame 11 right here. So let me take that mouth. I'm just going to set a key here, frame 11. Let's get rid of the key on frame 9 right now. And then I'm going to go to frame 9, set another key, and we're just going to close the mouth. So let's take the teeth. Actually, let's just rotate the jaw shut here. So this would be the closed mouth, and the lips are going to be shut. And so the character can go ha, hap, and the bottom lip is going to be the thing that leads here. So the top lip is going to stay up. Hap. Comes up here. Hap. Happy holidays. Happy. Okay. So we close here. This pose as well is going to be closed on frame 10. So I'm just going to take the mouth, copy frame 9 to frame 10. It's going to freeze for now, but I'm going to make that P shape a little bit more dynamic in just a second. One thing with P shapes and B shapes, M as well, is you don't want to just let the mouth just close, freeze, and then open again. We want to use it as an anticipation. So right now I'm just kind of saving it in this shape so I can kind of figure out, okay, where do I want to go first? So for P, the P shape, this depends on how explosive the P is. If you're getting a big P sound, that mouth is going to pop open. This character is going to have P. It's just a very soft sound here. So on frame 11 here is going to pop open, and we're going to go right into that E shape. Happy. And it's going to be slightly more closed than what we were at over here. So let's copy this over to frame 11, just the mouth corners. That way I can tone them down from there. And you're going to get some weird facial expressions as you animate here. And this is going to be the E, happy, or the P-E. Okay, jaw opens. And technically the jaw doesn't need to be closed all the way here, so we can adjust that as we go. The teeth are a little strange. So let's animate that, get that into position. Okay, open this up. Happy holidays. So I don't want this to open up all the way here because we're going to go open up in awe the days. So I'm just going to open that up a little bit. Let's get that lip down a little bit right there. I'm doing this super roughly. Happy. Got that in there. Okay, for now that's good. Let's go into the awe. So the holiday, that's the next big jaw motion. So that's going to be frame 14. Now, this is where kind of knowing ahead of time where your extremes are is very helpful. I know that right here at the beginning, this is going to be my biggest jaw motion right here. So as long as I look at my graph editor and I don't bring this up here, I'm not going to fall into hitting the same peaks and valleys. So I could just go right there. Now, this is where your planning might change. One thing I'm already noticing, and this is totally fine, is that from this camera angle, this jaw motion here, it feels very open because his head is tilted down, so we're looking right into his mouth. So maybe I want to make this a little smaller so we see less of like right into his mouth, and make this bigger because now he's looking more up and we can get more of a range of motion here. So I might change that up a little bit, reverse that right through there. Is that a bad thing? No. But it's whatever feels better. And really it's whatever looks better visually in your scene. So I'm going to do this here for now, just so we have this contrast. And it's also going to make a nice squash and stretch as his head comes up. We're going to drop that jaw down. So as we're opening up here, happy haw. Now the mouth corners are going to come in quite a bit here as we go into that ah shape. Maybe not this one quite as much. He's still smiling, so I want that up there. I don't want to lose the smile, but I do want to feel that pull right in there. Ha. And let's get that mouth corner a little bit more pinched here. Right through. Now, in general, when you're shaping the mouth, something to keep in mind is you want a little bit of asymmetry, and you also want to just think of the mouth as lines. So the lines that I'm trying to think of here is a simple line versus slightly more complex line. So the top lip here is just a simple, pretty much a straight line. The bottom mouth line right here is a nice big curve. As long as I have that simple versus more complex, I'm going to have, in general, a more appealing mouth shape. The other thing is that asymmetry. So I want to push that mouth over to the side here a little bit. Favor one side more than the other. So happy haw, maybe a little further out. So we feel that smile in there. Happy holidays. So right now the P isn't working because the mouth just stays still right there. Once we get this whole ah section working, we can come back to it. I feel like the mouth corner here can be a little further in. Something like that for now. Okay, let's keep this simple. Happy haw. Do I want to make it bigger? No, not really. I feel like this should be the biggest moment. Yeah. Happy. And then here, what I'm feeling is that the jaw closes too much. It should be the lips closing. I'm seeing the chin drop too much here. Happy holidays. Okay. So let's just get that lip closed there. Our lips can move a lot compared to our jaw. So you get that independent motion. Okay. Happy holidays. He's going to feel very yappy right now. A little too big. I'm going to tone down that mouth a lot from here. But I'd rather have it way too big than way too small. Okay. Happy. Okay. So as he closes his mouth here, something I'm going to try to do. Let's get that P working a little bit. Just super quick. I'm going to lower that mouth a little bit. So as he closes in here, we get that. Now you can see that mouth raise up. And then I want that bottom lip to pop down right there. Now this is going to be way too big of a pop. This is one frame right here. So to make this read a little bit more, I would just add a breakdown right here. You could do this now, you could do it later, where we just get that lip leading a little bit. And pinch the corners. Now you could use whichever controls you prefer. You could use these outer ones here, or you could use the fine detail controls here. In this case, because it's literally just one frame, it really doesn't matter. A lot of these mouth controls, I get one of the big things that students will fall into is like, which control should I use and how do I avoid having them wiggle around and whatnot. And honestly, it doesn't really matter. That's kind of the easiest answer. As long as you are getting the shapes you want, that's the important bit. Okay, so my ah shape should be on 14. This is too big here. So on frame 12, let's see. Yeah, I can add that breakdown later. So already you see how that P works a little bit better. It closes, we feel that pressure come in, we feel the lip pop and just open up. Now, is it correct? No, because the mouth corners right now are just kind of sliding around. We'll have to tie those in a little bit more, but we can get to that in a little bit. Thank you for the reminder. So where are we now? This is where, for me, having an X sheet or planning like this is helpful. I'm on frame 14. Okay. Our next important sound right now, the most important is the S shape right here. So this is where, depending on your workflow, you can choose where you want to go. I could just go, okay, frame 23, let's go here, set a key right here, close the jaw. So this is going to be our S shape, and that's pretty much it for S. Just close that up there. So frame 23 right here. But actually, it should be frame 20 based on my planning. So happy holiday. Yeah, so this is the S right here. I should make that a little bit more clear. Day is, so it's actually frame 20, not 23. And then it just holds right there. So make sure I copy everything. Let's just get rid of that key for now. Now, for the days, the mouth is actually going to be open here. So I'll need to bring that through. Happy holidays. Holidays. So the mouth is going to still go in slightly from here. It's just going to be holding that point. Now, I don't want to lose too much of the smile, so I'm going to have to adjust these a little bit further. So keep that out there. Keep that out here a little bit. So let's just kind of keep that here. So this is the S. So I could do that pose to pose. So now we get holiday. Day. No, yeah. Happy ha. So this is ha. 14. Days. 19. Okay, cool. So let's go here. So ha, wide. Next is going to be L16. That's going to be the other important shape because of the tongue. Also, the mouth is starting to close up here again. So the jaw. Hal. The tongue is reaching up for your roof of the mouth, so it's going to come up right through there. Let's just quickly get that tongue positioned. I'm not going to worry about getting it exactly right here. It's more just a placeholder. So something like that. Hal, li, happy. I should tone down the volume for everyone here because that's quite loud. Just a little bit more. There we go. Happy holidays. Okay. So the jaw comes down here. Tongue is up. Holidays. I might keep the mouth corners out just a little bit more. Right now, the character is definitely speaking with way too much mouth motion, so I'm going to tone that down like crazy. But then the next important sound is the D right here on frame 18. So let's take that. And here the mouth is going to stay pretty much open. So technically the D should open up a little bit more. So I would do this. So it goes in, down, and then back closed like that. But to simplify this, I could just hold it right there. So it keeps approximately the same motion there. So we get that little pause in the jaw, and it avoids it making it chattery right there. Holiday. So D, D. The tongue is going to be still up in the roof of the mouth here. And for D, the tongue, holidays. The tongue tends to stick a little bit more to the front of the mouth here. So I'm going to just push this up towards that front of the mouth there. The teeth are horrible right now because they're just sliding into place. Let's just quickly get them to hold. Okay. I'm getting one frame here where the tongue is starting to stick through. So let's just quickly clean that up. Okay. For the chart that I did before, right here. So this is just a phoneme sheet. If you just do a search for phonemes, you'll find a lot of charts like these, which show you different mouth shapes and whatnot. So you don't have to just go buy this one. There's a whole bunch of them. Just a Google image search is going to be your best friend right there. Okay. So far we're getting pretty good here. Now for the S shape here, we are going to have to move these teeth. Okay. Don't be afraid of animating teeth. It's going to be part of the whole process. The biggest thing with teeth is that it is okay to animate them as long as you never see them move. That's the biggest thing. So as long as you just kind of hide the teeth motion, you're going to be fine. Oh, and does that one exist online or Discord? So this phoneme library is specific to Animation Mentor, so it doesn't exist online. It's for the Animation Mentor school. So you're not going to be able to find that online, unfortunately. Okay. Happy holidays. Okay. So already that's feeling pretty good. The shapes are definitely weird. Like where was it? There's a shape here that's kind of ugh. Yeah, right here. See how the mouth corners are just bland? I'm getting very symmetrical shapes right there. I'm gonna go through here and exaggerate the mouth quite a bit. I might take this, push it off to the side a little bit more. Right now, I'm not too worried about that. I'm just trying to get the main motions in there. And then that way I can more easily just tighten things up from there. Okay, so we've got holidays. Zzz. Okay, 20 to 23, the mouth stays closed. So I'm just going to take this. It's 23. Now, the mouth doesn't just lock off here. As long as our teeth are close together enough, that's the important thing. So even in this early stage, I could just add a moving hold right here, where the teeth come in like so, and we get that nice little motion right in there. And I feel like I could keep this open a little bit more here because we're still hearing day. And then get it a little bit more closed right here. So we get something more like that. Okay. Now, with this, let's get to F, because that's going to be a very important pose. So let's get rid of that. Set a key. And let me actually show how I would use a pose library pose. So you could pose this as you have before, but let's say for argument's sake, you do want to use a pose library here. So I'm going to find an F shape that works for what I want. So I think this one here, FV2, is kind of what I want. I don't want the lip bite, but more of the pressure. So this is going to be a happy holidays from. So I'm going to take this. Let's hit apply. And you'll see that changed the mouth quite a bit. We don't want it to be this far in. It's going to come in here, but he's still smiling. So happy holidays from. So those corners are going to go up quite a bit here. We're going to have to adjust the lips. So I'm going to tighten this up here a little bit more. Push this out. Let's tighten that corner here a little bit more. So happy holidays from. Happy holidays. Okay. So we got that here. I feel like, yeah, let's keep that up a little bit right there. I also want to keep that mouth a little bit more angled right there. And then let's get those teeth into position here, because he needs to be biting and pushing against the top teeth right there. So I need to make sure that those top teeth, we can exaggerate them and almost push them out a little bit right there, just to get that pressure right there. So we get into that F. Then we go into from. Now here I know the M is going to be closed. So that's pretty simple there. Oh, and let's see. I have a question. In lip sync, you're blocking in spline mode, not stepped, like a body mechanics. Yeah, in general, I block everything in spline mode. I don't usually block anything in stepped, even body mechanics. You can do either or. So if you wanted to, I could take this whole mouth and just put it into step mode right here. And technically, this is going to be actually easier to work with because our mouth moves very quickly. Happy holidays from me to you. So you can already see that's feeling actually pretty decent. So if you want to, even though your animation on the body is in splines, animating the face in step mode can actually be better because our face moves very quick. The transitions are very quick. And early on, if you're just in splines, the face can feel a little too soft. Whichever workflow you prefer. I like in working in splines usually just because I'm used to it at this point. So here we got that F. Let's go to 28 to get to that M. Now, one thing to keep in mind with M shapes is that the mouth is closed, but that does not mean that the jaw is closed. So for example, let's just go full screen here. So my mouth closed, but my jaw open right there. Okay, you can see. So when you're doing that M shape, you're not just going, everything freezes. You go, and there's jaw motion that can happen underneath. So when he goes, fra, the jaw can keep closing as the mouth is already closed. You're creating this layered organic form to the mouth versus just having it boring and monotone. So for example, here, let's do this here. Because I use the pose library, there's a few deformations in the mouth that I'm not a fan of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zero out the controls here. If you've got Animbot, I believe, I always forget which one it is. Is it this one? You can reset your controls here somewhere. I always forget which one it is. If you, wait, is it here? There's a button here somewhere. But you can also use the GUI picker, which for this rig, I have this. So I can just hit reset selection. It resets, in this case, the mouth to its default. There we go. Now I can repose it from scratch. This is a good thing to do. If you just kind of keep building and building and building on the same pose all the time, you're going to run into issues where your mouth shape is just going to get really wonky. It is good to reset things and just kind of start from a neutral position. So for this M, I know for the me, you can see here I've put this note. I'm going to go me over here. Me. So to start with, I can kind of push the mouth a little bit more screen right here. So mouth is going to be closed. I can push the lips a little bit more this way from me. From. Okay, they're going to be a little tighter to the teeth. Let's narrow the lips just a little bit here. Okay. He's still going to be smiling. I never want to lose the smile. And now the mouth is widening up again. So F was the narrowest point right here. So this is going to open up a little bit. Let's kind of favor screen left. I can even push this a little bit. And this first M shape is going to be quite low. Right here. So he's going to go from, up, out, down, from me, and then raise back up. So I'm going to lower this here. And actually, let's raise that a little bit. Now, this M I'm not a fan of right there. But for now, I'm just going to keep it because I want to see where it's going to go. M. So right up to 31. I want that mouth to kind of move like this. And that's actually pretty good. That smile I have there from me. And then it'll just pop open to the E. So I feel like this actually works pretty well. It slides a little too much, so I'm gonna bring this out a little bit more here. Okay. Not quite where I want it to be, but for now it's decent. Oh, too much. Adding a little depth there just so we have some wrap around on those teeth. Okay. From me. From me. Okay, let's get to that E shape. So that's on 32 right here. But I think I'm going to actually go on 33 so I get one frame of transition here. I want those from the M sound, closed, me. I want to get into that E shape, but I don't want to just snap into the full E shape. I'm going to have a little bit of a transition there. So I'm going to go to frame 33 in this case. And let's get into that E shape. From me, something like that. We're going to be able to rotate those teeth here. Get that nice exaggerated smile in there. Pinch the corners. Me. Let's see. I can bring this out quite a ways. Once again, this is where the graph editor is helpful. This is my maximum right here. That's where I was on happy. And if we look at my planning here, from me, I want this to be quite high. Not all the way up to the same level as I was on that happy, but I want it to be quite out here. So we go down, back out, right in there from me. the sad song. And here we get and really feel that lip me drop down there. Now the jaw can also drop here a little bit. Me. Okay, that's actually pretty good for the E. Yeah, this slide here between these two poses I'm not a fan of. So, this is where you can just kind of play with what you already have. So right now the mouth is kind of sliding from this first M shape to this one right here. I'm not a fan of it. But what I do like is this second shape and the way it goes from here to the E shape there, me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take either this pose or maybe like one frame before that pose and copy it to the pose that I don't like, replace it. So now I have this slight moving hold here, but it's kind of retaining more of the stuff that I do like. And then from there I can exaggerate that. Now here we're losing the me pose because we're going back to that default that we had animated before. So we're going to have to tweak that. But just to kind of show the M shape here. So what I can do here is I wanted that transition. So from the shape here, I can start to pop that open a little bit, leading with the bottom lip, but keeping the corners up a little bit more. So something like that. Now, the other thing that's going to happen is when we do this, the top lip is going to react as well. Now, do you have to do all of this little nitpicky details right away? No. I'm just kind of doing it while I'm thinking about it, so I can kind of block it in. And then we'll refine everything afterwards. The first thing here that I'm really trying to do is just to get everything to read correctly. Okay. So E, that shape is going to hold up to frame about 37 from me to, and honestly, from me to you. So really that E shape stays all the way from me to you, that U right here. So probably E, E, T, E, T, T. You're going to get a little jaw motion on the T, U. So I'd probably say up to about frame 30 or 43. We can just hold this. And make sure I have all my controls selected. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So don't be afraid of really holding poses. Our mouths don't have to move all the time, constantly, and have big changes all the time. But instead, don't just hold it if the character's in a pose and it doesn't need to change. So me to you, me to you, me to, me to. It doesn't change. Now, it's not going to hold like this. That's going to be very creepy if it just freezes. So me to you. I'm going to have a relaxation of the jaw in there. So I think I have that here. Jaw drops down on... down here on Fra. So that's on 27. So I should actually put that in. I'm missing the I'm just going... I forgot. I went from the F to the M. I missed the So let's actually go in here and block that out. There's going to be a little bit of jaw open right here. Yeah. I can probably push this in a little bit more so we can start to go out here a little bit. Let's push this up here, pinch for the Then this popping a little too much here, that's fine. I'll figure that out later. Now the jaw is snapping shut here. I'm not a fan of that, so let's just go in here. There we go. Okay, he stays very creepy for very long. There we go.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you.
So that's getting there. There's a little bit of tooth sliding right here. I can feel the teeth moving. You can see it right here, especially. Yeah, they slide forward. So I'm going to have to tweak that. That's fine. That's just a little polish and refining. At this point, for me, this needs a moving hold right in here. And then I need to get the TU. So here on the T, I don't really need another key right here, but I am going to pose out the tongue. So T has a flick of the tongue right here. T, t, t. So let's see, I'm going to set a key here, maybe with the tongue slightly higher up there. Frame before we hear the T, I'm going to bring that tongue up. And from me to you. And then maybe zero out the tongue here. So we just get that little bit of a tongue flick right there. And then we'll be able to put in the jaw motion in there as well. Right now, I'm not too worried about getting this exact, because the teeth are so closed anyway. From me to you. Ooh. Okay, let's get to that ooh shape, because that's going to be our final pose and very important shape to get. Ooh. And then from there, it'll hold to basically the end. From me to you. So we're going to get this, and then we'll work on that transition. So the biggest thing I want here is the me, which we're going to have to tweak a little bit through this. The me, I really want this to favor screen right. So I'll probably change this a little bit more like that as we go through. So we really hold there. And then ooh, let's actually just reset the mouth here. So reset selection. You. Ooh, I want it to be on the other side. You. So the jaw is going to be slightly open here. Mouth corners, let's bring them in. But the biggest thing here is going to be getting that pinch in there, so we can really feel that ooh shape. Get those lower, or those lips separate a little bit. And bring these out. Ooh shapes To really get them to read, we need to push the lips out. If we don't do that, it's just not going to work correctly. And then I'm going to push the lips over to the side, something like this for now. It's going to look horrible from the front view. Maybe a little bit less. And then let's keep that smile in there. Okay. I think I'm rotating a little too much there. Okay. I think I could probably pull it up as well. I'll have to move the teeth to make it work in this moment. But we get something along these lines. This is definitely not the final pose. But we start to get a little bit of that ooh in there. So now we have that big contrast right there. I could probably push this even more. From me to you. And then it'll hold from me to you. Probably hold for maybe 4 frames before it then relaxes. So let's kind of get that in there. And something like that. And then we'll get that last pose in there to be a little bit more appealing.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy
There we go.
holidays from me
That's the
to you.
basics of it.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy
Okay.
holidays from me to you.
So we've got the lip sync pretty much blocked in. That wasn't too hard, really. Because we had all our planning, we were able to very quickly go in, make sure everything is in there. At this point, what we need to do is push the appeal of things and make it actually interesting. We know that the lip sync is working as I play through this.
From me to you.
It's
Happy holidays from me.
it's reading. I'm not feeling any points where it's like unclear, but I'm missing a lot of visual appeal to this. For example, that last ooh shape is not really that interesting. The final pose that the character gets in here at the very end, again, not that interesting. There's a moment here where we feel those teeth sliding forward, and you can see it in this view here. The teeth just whoop, slide forward right there. So there's going to be a lot of little things like that, and pushing the breakdowns. So at this point, it's really just a matter of refining and polishing. So let's just kind of get in there. So I feel like the beginning pose here, this works really well. I feel like that's appealing. It's pretty good. If anything, I feel like maybe the bottom teeth are a little too flat, the line that I'm getting right there. So I'm just going to move those and then hold that right there. This beginning definitely needs more of a breakdown. So I feel like I'm just going to take the mouth pose, hold from frame 1 to frame 4, and then we'll be able to pop open. And then to just create a little bit of an anticipation, I'm going to take that jaw, close it a little bit right here. So we get a little close, breathe in. And then I can just refine my curve right here so it doesn't snap. Ease right there. Actually, maybe move this 1 frame back. Right there. That's a little better. There we go. We get a little bit of that breath at the beginning. Mouth comes up. Okay, is this pose appealing here? Not bad. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of an odd roundness right here in that cheek, so I'm going to just push that a little bit more like so. I also feel like this is, for lack of a better term, he feels like a pelican. So I'm going to just push that mouth corner in right there. Get more of that two-dimensional shape. You can see the difference from here to here. And it just helps to create more of that dimensionality and depth to the whole mouth shape there. I could also maybe push the lip here so we have a little bit more dimensionality between the teeth right there. Now, if that's going to happen, I'm going to have to push the lip out further here. Because as he's opening his mouth, his lip's going to have to stretch and tighten right through here. Okay, so that's more appealing there. Let's see if I can take this this one here, mouth control, and push that in as well right there. Just so we have less of a change of direction happening right through here. Okay. Okay, the next thing that is the S shape here, I'm not a fan of. So I'm going to change this and then try to work around it. Now you'll notice that I'm doing this in a very, for lack of a better term, organic way. I'm not just going straight ahead because I want to make sure I have some key moments throughout my shot. So for example, the happy, I really wanted that to read well. I want this S to read well because it sits here for a while. I want that to really just be super appealing. If I kind of just work straight ahead, I might get to this S shape and then find out that, oh wait, something I didn't work out. And now I've got to redo a whole bunch of this stuff at the beginning. So this is just my workflow is very kind of, for lack of another term, chaotic. Whereas I'm just trying to make sure that this reads well. Happy holidays. So I can relax the lip here a little bit. Maybe the top lip as well. One of the things that I'm feeling is the pinch in the corner is too round right there. In general, this is a big in general. Like it really depends on the style of the film. Corners tend to look better when you pinch them, but if you think of like Adventure Time, Luca, Turning Red, they have a very different stylistic design for the mouths. So happy holidays. I feel like I can push a little bit more of the smirk here. Right there. Something that I'm also feeling is the teeth are kind of fighting me right here. So I'm going to just push them a little bit. Okay, so something like that. That feels a little bit better to me. If I wanted to, I could really push the asymmetry by having the lips kind of come down a little bit more there. Happy holidays. Maybe get a little bit more of that shape like so. But I don't want to overcomplicate things too much here. Now, one thing I'm a fan of is trying to push the asymmetry by having the character talk out of one side of their mouth a little bit more. You'll notice I do this a lot, where one side will drop down a lot more. So something like this, or it'll be the other side. In my case, this side drops down quite a bit. Normally it's pretty even, but you could talk more like this out of this side, or more like that out of that side. So you're gonna get that drop in that bottom lip. So I can do this here a little bit, and just kind of push that asymmetry. Now, which way do you go? It really depends on you. In this case, I want to push a little bit of that contrapposto in that face, so I'm going to do it this way. And you can see how that makes a big difference in that mouth shape. This is so symmetrical and boring. That's much more dynamic and interesting. Even if it's just small changes, it can make a big difference. And if we were going for a cartoony shot, we could push this even more. Okay, so we've got that for now. Now I need to get back to that previous S pose there, and I want to take elements from it, from the one that we worked on before. So I know that the teeth shouldn't move here, so let's grab those teeth. We'll move them back here. Now you'll notice the teeth move right here. We're going to have to find a way to hide this motion right here. Usually you'll want to hide them when the mouth is closed. So, for example, here, I could hide that tooth transition right here. Let's see how this feels. There we go. So you can see the teeth. If we look at the graph editor, there's a big motion happening right here. Mouth is closed. I can actually just remove these keys, don't need them. Teeth slide into position. Actually, I needed that key there. So let's get rid of this one here. Don't need that one. There, punk. And now they're in their new position. There we go. And then here we can change this because it's hidden behind the lips. The mouth corner is wiggling a little bit there. I can refine that later. But I want to get this pose reading a little bit better right now. Because this is, again, another very important pose. So let's actually ease in here, clean that up. I think it's the depth attribute. Okay. Just grabbing this mouth control and trying to polish out some of that bouncing that I'm getting there. Happy holidays. Yeah, let's just ease this here. There we go, that's a little better for now. Okay. So I want frame 20. The corners are just too open here, so let's bring those up. Alrighty, that makes a big difference. The other thing that's happening here is that we're getting a connection between the lips and the teeth. See here how the bottom teeth and the bottom lip go up together? That... This is where we can offset and make things a little bit more dynamic. So I'm just going to go through here. When he goes days, the bottom lip can actually go down a little bit more here. It's a little too wide right now. And then drag behind a little bit before coming in. So you could do something like that. Now that's going to be a little weird because he's going to be so toothy right there. So I'm actually going to minimize that right there. And then here, days, something more like that. And we can refine that later.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you.
Already that helps a lot, getting an S in there.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays
Okay.
from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you.
So at this point, we've got the lip sync pretty much in there.
Happy holidays from me to you.
The big thing that I'm feeling right now is that E, we need a moving hold in here. So easiest way to get a moving hold without any tools is I'm just going to take this key right here. So this is where the moving hold begins and then it just freezes. I'm just going to take this and move it a few frames forward. Now we've got this kind of slight motion there. And I'm just going to find a key that I like. So maybe like 34. Set a key there. That's going to be my new start to the pose. I'm going to delete frame 36 here. There we go. Now we've got a slide motion right through there. Now the other area that, so we've got that moving hold there. The next area is the to you. I need to start that sooner. So here I think the jaw is going to close a little bit. Okay, so where are my keys? E. Let's set a key here on everything. We'll feel the jaw close a little bit. Maybe the corners of the mouth will come in slightly. Kind of start leading that motion to you. And then we'll start to pinch the corners in here. Oops. Always make sure you're setting key on everything so you're holding your poses. Otherwise, I would have lost a whole bunch of stuff. So here I want this pose. Let's set a key. EU. The big thing I want is the corners to start to pinch in because you're going to go into ooh. So I'm going to EU and zipper that mouth closed there. I can even take the top lip a little bit. So we start to get that U. And really push this closed here. Let's see. So I'll have to push all my breakdowns and really refine them. But right now I'm just trying to make sure it reads correctly. Here, what is happening is that bottom lip is too far out. So once again, I'm just going to rotate this, whip, like that. And now we're starting to get that nice ooh shape and getting that the lip silhouette. There we go. Now here, something about that lip shape is a little off. I think it's the teeth that I need to adjust, honestly. At this point, they're I want to offset them a little to the side here. This is going to help with the asymmetry of the face. Like that. See how it kind of creates a little bit of the gap right there versus here where the teeth are just fitting fully into that mouth right there. And because we have that mouth closed right here, it's going to be very easy to just get all of these to just book match right there. And here you can really see the difference between that ooh shape by pushing that lip. See here how this feels more like a nice ooh, whereas this feels like the whole side of the mouth has kind of been pushed in a weird way. Mouths, the biggest thing with mouths is you just want to shape them, make nice appealing shapes to them. And it takes time. You really want to just study mouth shapes. So let's just kind of do this roughly for now. And even here. Push that in. Let's tone down that bottom lip. Now here, when we go into that ooh shape, we're seeing a lot of the teeth. This is where I want to simplify this. So I could either bring the mouth closed a little bit more. Or in the transition, I could push this so the E gets a little bit more closed. Right here into this. And then open up. And at this point here, let's see if this will work. Because we're kind of getting into this point where we're not seeing the teeth, I could just bring them back and then essentially just hide them. Same thing with the tongue. Let's just move the tongue instead of scaling it. Okay, so where do I want to go with it? Down here, down, and then the teeth are starting to come forward again. So you can see that's just a simpler mouth shape right there overall. So I could do something like that. I could show a little bit of teeth. At this point, it's more design. What do I want this design to feel like? So for example, I could just bring this in here, just show a little bit of the teeth right there. That's a little too close. It takes away from the lips, but I could do something like that, maybe. But that's totally fine to just shape the mouth, and if you need to hide the teeth, hide the teeth.
Happy holidays from me to you. 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 Happy holidays.
Okay, so at this point, it's tracking arcs and cleaning up shapes. But we've pretty much got the majority of the lip sync in place here. One of the big things that I'm feeling with the U here is that the lips are just kind of going in, out. We want to round that up to U. So let's actually just block that in here to E. I'm going to push this up here. U. Let's go down. And then back up here. Okay, that's a little bit better. I'll have to track those arcs and get that a little bit more timed out. So my translate Z right now is kind of bouncing. I need to push this further here. So again, this is going to be curve cleanup and polish. But at this point, I've pretty much got the majority of my mouth and lip sync in place.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays. To you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays.
Yeah, the end, the lips just kind of bounce back straight, whip, right there. That's better.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you.
Okay, so that's the lip sync. Now, as you saw, it was very organic in the way I was approaching this. There was no like hard, fast rules and I'm just doing the jaw and whatnot. For me personally, I like to go by shapes and shape language. So how can we simplify things and push the arcs? And this is just the very first pass. There's going to be a lot of work now in polishing and refining things. And at this point, I can do more of a layered approach. I could, now that I know most of my shapes are in there, I can go into the corners and just polish the mouth corners themselves. So for example, translate X right here, right there. See how it stops dead right here? It comes out and kind of moves evenly, then bounces right here. So this translate X is the in out right there. And it comes back out, then through. I could really refine this and maybe have the mouth corner lead one frame sooner. So we feel that mouth corner right there start to lead into that breath. So he's smiling, then his jaw opens. Or I could lead with the jaw first if I wanted to. So like that. Let the jaw lead, then the corner comes up, but maybe I add a breakdown right here and just have a little bit of a change first. Just a little bit, feel that. Comes through. And then instead of bouncing here, let's see. We could maybe keep that P going up a little bit more like this. So now hap comes in. We might drop the ah. So we hold kind of happy ha. Then it comes in a little bit more. The F from. See here how this is right in the middle? I'm not a fan of ever having a pose just halfway between 2 points. So this mouth corner right here is just halfway between those 2 points. So I'm going to lead with something. Either I'm going to lead with the lip or I'm going to lead with the mouth corner. In this case, I think I'm going to lead with the lip. So we have that lip move a little bit more there. The mouth corner doesn't move as much. And then it catches up. But once again, this is bouncing, so I might ease this, round that out, that arc. This is going to be where I would push the translate Y down as well a little bit. From me to you. Okay, so you could just do that. It's just cleaning up, really pushing that lead and follow. So again, let's look at that Y right there. So right now, see how it just pops down, which is not bad. But right here, this is halfway between there to there, halfway. So once again, let's lead with that lip. So we're going to let that stay up higher. See how we now feel that lip is the first thing to move? And then the mouth corner comes down. Let's push this down here. So we can round out that arc. Something like this. So it goes down, then back up. So in, around, up. We're not going to pop it up quite so fast right there. Ease in. Right there. And once again, just watch out for halfway points. And then we can go through. But you can see how now that corner of the mouth goes in a nice arc right there. I think I need to adjust a little bit my translate X though. No, wrong way. There we go. And maybe my rotate Y is, or translate Y is a little low right there. There we go. We get a little loop in the mouth corner compared to the other one. See how the other one just goes straight down at an angle? And it's just moving with the lip. So let's actually take this here. I'm not going to do all of this polish right now. If people are interested, I can maybe do another stream of this, hopefully next week, where we just polish up this mouth and connect all of it. Actually, I should do that stream. I'm going to polish up the mouth, and then I'm going to add all of the connectivity to the face. Because right now, we've animated the mouth, but it's not connected to the rest of the face yet. And that's just not going to be as interesting as we could actually make it. So let's drop this down here a little bit. Come back up here. Okay. Look at my translate X. Once again, halfway. Ugh. Lip sync is going to die if you just go halfway between poses. It really just kills it. Whenever you can, try to avoid halfway points in your lip sync. So here I'm looking at this mouth corner, and because his head is turning, this mouth corner is creating a little bounce right here. So I'm going to take this pose right here and just push it in. So visually we're tracking that arc. Now it goes in, maybe too far right there. And then we can bounce back out a little bit. Now, I'm going right into tracking certain arcs here. You don't have to go right into that right away. You want to make sure you have the main motion in there. So right there now, that from is just a little bit more organic. Now there's a bit of a pop here in the lips. So let's take a look at what's happening here. You can see that roll right happening. Huh? Where is it? Yeah. That lip should be starting to roll out and relax a little sooner. Rotate X. So that should actually happen here, as he's bringing his mouth closed, the lip's going to relax. Then it should just hold there. It's going to roll for the f. But again, this is just halfway between. So I'm going to bring this down slightly. Bring that lip out so we don't feel like it just snaps shut. And actually, maybe do something like this. Okay. There we go. That's a little bit better. And then here, see how the whole lip, we get into that F shape right here, and then everything comes down right here together. Wouldn't it be cool if we got a little bit of contrast where the top lip starts to push down and then the bottom lip goes down? Something like that. I can see the teeth moving. So I'm going to take those teeth, hold this pose right here, and make sure what is changing here. Okay, yeah, so the molar or the deform controls are activating here. Okay. What is moving the teeth? Something is moving the teeth. Oh, is it still one of the deformers? Something is happening with these teeth. Oh, I know what it is. I think it's this control. Yeah. So see here how this control is going forward? That's dragging the teeth with it. So is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. Usually I try to avoid animating multiple controls like that if I can avoid it, or just if I don't need to. Because at this point I'm going to have to counter animate those teeth back slightly. Right through here. But we can clean that up later. And can I give feedback later? I don't think I'm going to have time, unfortunately, because I am going to have to get going here pretty soon for work. There we go. I think I might turn off my ambient occlusion here, just because it's creating some weird shadows on the teeth. So the tongue here, it goes up a little too evenly. So I'm going to ease that back a little bit right there. Just get a little bit of motion. Halt. And then actually I'm going to offset it one frame here. So it goes up for the L. Then it has to drop down so we can get that L sound. And then has come back up for the D sound. So I'm going to over animate this here. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm just curious. Yeah, see that? Flap, flap, flap. We don't want to do that. It looks like it's just wiggling in the mouth. So when you're doing something like this, you've got L and D. Both of them need a tongue shape right there, back to back. You just want to really favor the poses. So, for example, the tongue pops up here. I can come back down here. And then this is kind of hitting that middle section, and then it goes back up. Instead, skip the middle. I'm just going to kind of favor towards that top pose. So or actually, no, let's favor towards the bottom. So it comes down. We feel it start to come back up a little bit. It's back up. I might hold it so you can read it for 2 frames and then pop down again. The other thing I can do is technically L should go down. Yeah, that feels pretty good. If I still feel like this is too much, I can just keep it up for L. Holidays. And then it comes down on D. 18. I think I'm going to do that. So 18 has come down. And then it's just going to hold here. Something like that. Make sure it doesn't stick out of the mouth there. That'll be helpful. Yeah, that should be a little cleaner.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you.
There we go.
Happy holidays from me to you.
So that's our first pass at the lip sync. And the most important thing is that it just reads correctly. The biggest things that I've done, let's actually play blast this just so we can see a comparison. The biggest thing that I've done so far is trying to simplify the mouth corners so that they're not going all over the place, simplifying the jaw motion so it's not just chattering. And at this point, really trying to shape the mouth. Now, this was a first pass. At this point, we need to polish it up, really push that shape language. We haven't even really done many breakdowns yet, but as you can see, we don't really need to do a ton of it because the lips kind of, if you block them enough and get your shapes in there, it's just going to be 1 or 2 frames here and there. So let's kind of compare what we had before. So this was without lip sync. Let's turn on the volume here.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you.
Okay.
Happy holidays from me to you.
So that's what we had
Happy
before.
holidays from me to you.
Let's see what we have now.
Happy holidays from me to you.
There we
Happy
go.
holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me.
Yeah, definitely a lot that needs to be worked on.
From me to you.
The biggest things that I'm feeling is this pose here It's too flat, too boring. I need to push the asymmetry of that. It's ugly right now. My eye keeps catching it. The ooh, it bounces too much. It goes boonk, in, out. I need to push that arc in there.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me.
I feel like there's something in the corners of the mouth here. When he goes holidays, right here. It feels like there's a stair step effect that's going one, chunk, and there's this weird arc that's happening in the corners there. I'd want to investigate that, see if I can clean that up. Push all the breakdowns, push all the poses, do a proper tooth pass where I really get the shapes of the teeth just really finessed. I'm getting a few areas like right here. I can see a little bit of the molars poking through. I need to do a tongue pass to make sure that the tongue looks good. And also we did some of the main tongue motions, but especially with big mouth motions like this, you want to have some tongue motion. So it's not just a flat thing in the mouth that's just stuck in there.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays.
I feel like the top lip isn't quite working in some areas. So I'd have to do a pass on that, just cleaning up the up and down motions of it.
Me to you. Happy holidays.
The last pose I definitely feel needs to be tweaked a little bit. He's just kind of stood in the ooh shape a little too much. I need to relax it back into a bit more of a smile. Just a little bit.
Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you. Happy holidays from me to you.
I feel like the from here is dropping too soon right here. And that the lip is kind of popping a little bit. I need one more frame of maybe like a few pixels worth of motion to lead up into this. Yeah, that lip there is kind of a little chaotic. Let's see.
Holidays from me to you.
And then once we get all of that in, which honestly shouldn't be too much, but it's just going to be more tedious than anything. The next big thing is going to be connecting the whole face together, getting the cheeks in there, getting the eyes to work. Because right now, my initial plan is backwards from what I ended up having. I used to have, let's actually do this here. I had the mouth narrower here and then wider at the end. And that works with the eyes that I had, where the eyes are more open here and then more closed there. And it's the cheeks pushing up into the eye there. Now, there's a little bit of a disconnect because we're pulling on the mouth and the eye is closing, which isn't technically incorrect and it's not bad, but it does feel odd and it creates this weird disconnect. So I'm going to have to go in there and reconnect things, get the cheeks, the ears, the cheek puffs, those kind of motions in there, especially for the P, and just get all of that goodness. Really push the line of action of the face, get the nose connected. And that's really going to help just sell the whole thing. But for now, I think that's a pretty solid pass. The other thing that's going to help is taking a break. Honestly, I've been looking at this for a while. I need to take a break, come back, see what parts aren't reading. At this point, my brain has kind of just accepted things and it's like, okay, this is how it is. It's fine. So I don't want to go too much further without taking a little bit of break to really refresh my eyes, make sure I'm not building on top of mistakes. One thing I'm feeling here is that bottom lip right there just kind of pops back up right here. Boonk. I need to adjust my spacing there. This is my least favorite part right there. This pose, ugh. This has so much more appeal, the asymmetry, and I lost that, especially in the teeth. The teeth are very symmetrical, so I need to push that a lot.
Happy holidays from me to you.
So yeah, I hope that helps. I know it was very, like there was not a structure per se to this of just do your jaw pass, just do this pass, and then you're done. But at least for me, this is the method that I like with lip sync because it allows me to keep the organic, emotion in the lip sync without falling into just mechanics. It's just moving the jaw, moving the corners, done. It's all of that all at once and going from pose to pose. But as you're going from pose to pose, thinking of the overall structure and how it's going to flow between all of those poses. And that takes practice because it's going to be hard to do at first. But it's not just a series of individual poses that will hopefully miraculously work in the end. Everything has to flow and connect. And ideally give you something where it feels organic and simple at the end and not too overly complicated. Something's catching my eye. I'll need to take a break and try to figure out what it is. So yeah, that's what we've got so far.